3 months ago, I watched my uncle freeze in the middle of a sentence. He couldn't remember the name of his favorite food. Not a stranger's name. Not a distant memory. His favorite food. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. Cognitive decline doesn't happen all at once. It happens in tiny, silent slips, ones we don't notice, until we do. But then I discovered something incredible. The brain isn't a machine that only breaks. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, it can grow, stronger, faster, sharper, at any age. Today, I'll share the 13 10-minute brain gym routines that transformed my uncle's daily life. And they might just transform yours, too. 1. Cross-body taps. Reconnecting the brain. When my uncle first tried cross-body taps, he shuffled awkwardly, lifting each knee slowly, as if waking parts of himself up. The exercise is simple. Stand tall, march in place, and touch your right hand to your left knee, then your left hand to your right knee. But behind this simple pattern is a powerful neurological process. Every cross-body movement forces both hemispheres of the brain to synchronize, something that becomes weaker with age or stress. Within just a few days, his coordination improved, and he told me, "It feels like the lights are turning back on." These taps act like jumper cables for the brain, waking up attention, balance, and clarity all at once. 2. The memory ladder. Rebuilding recall, step by step. At first, my uncle struggled to remember even a short chain of words, but we started with one. Sun. Then I added another. Sun, river. Every 10 seconds, we stacked another word on top, forcing his mind to recall the entire sequence from scratch. It's basically weightlifting for the working memory part of the brain, the region that lets you remember why you walked into a room or what you meant to say next. As his chains grew longer each day, something beautiful happened. His confidence grew, too. "I didn't think my memory could still get better," he whispered one morning. "But it can, because the brain continues rewiring itself for a lifetime." 3. Box breathing. Resetting the mental storm. There were days when worry clouded his mind so heavily he said it felt like a fog settling over everything. That's when we used box breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Hold for 4. It creates a rhythm, almost like rocking your nervous system to sleep. After about 3 minutes, his shoulders would drop. After 10, the fog would lift. This technique calms the amygdala, the part of the brain that panics and steals focus, while strengthening the prefrontal cortex, which handles reasoning and memory. It's not just breathing, it's switching the brain from fear mode back into thinking mode. 4. Speed reading sprints. Charging up the brain's processor. When I gave my uncle his first 1-minute speed reading sprint, he looked at me like I'd handed him a marathon. But the goal wasn't perfection. It was velocity. "Read fast," I told him. "Don't worry about the mistakes." We repeated the cycle. 1 minute of fast reading, 30 seconds of rest. What happens is remarkable. The brain learns to process information more efficiently, improving neural speed and the ability to concentrate for longer periods. By the 3rd week, he wasn't just reading faster, he was understanding more, too. "It feels like my brain is warming up," he said. And that's exactly what it does. 5. Visual tracking. Sharpening the brain's lens. On quiet afternoons, I'd hold a pen in front of him and slowly move it left to right, up and down, diagonally, even in slow circles. His head stayed still, only his eyes followed. This seems like a tiny exercise, but visually tracking an object strengthens the brain's attention networks and helps stabilize focus. When these networks weaken, people experience more mental fatigue, more distraction, and more blurry thinking. After doing this regularly, my uncle told me, "Everything feels clearer, like I'm adjusting a camera lens." That's precisely what this routine does. It refocuses the brain's visual and cognitive clarity. 6. The Name Everything Drill. Awakening Language Pathways. This one always made my uncle laugh. We would stand in a room and name objects as quickly as possible. Lamp, desk, curtain, speaker. The speed mattered more than accuracy. Each word fired signals in his brain's temporal lobe, strengthening the pathways responsible for language and memory recall. People often lose verbal fluency early in cognitive decline. They know the word, but can't quite reach it. This exercise rebuilds that access. The faster he named objects, the faster his brain retrieved words again in everyday conversation. And the best part? It turned into a fun game we played everywhere we went. 7. Dual task training. Building cognitive resilience. The first time I asked my uncle to march in place and count backward from 300 by threes, he burst out laughing. "You're kidding," he said. But once he started, something incredible happened. He was fully present. No drifting thoughts, no fog, just pure focus. Dual task training forces the brain to handle a physical and mental task simultaneously, improving executive function and boosting something called cognitive reserve, the brain's ability to resist decline. This is one of the few scientifically proven routines linked to a lower risk of dementia. And by week 2, my uncle wasn't laughing. He was proud. 8. 10-minute doodle therapy. Clearing mental clutter. On rainy evenings, I'd slide a notebook in front of him and say, 10 minutes. Don't think, just draw. He'd sketch spirals, grids, shapes, little patterns that seemed random but freed his mind from structured thinking. Doodling activates the brain's default mode network, where creativity, problem-solving, and memory formation happen. People underestimate how powerful this is. After doodling, he always looked lighter. "It's like my brain took a deep breath," he said, and that's exactly what this exercise accomplishes. It frees the mind from rigidity and invites it to think in new, flexible ways. 9. Mental math. Flexing the brain's command center. When we first started mental math drills, my uncle's forehead creased with concentration. 30% of 240, I'd say, or 27 times 14. No paper, no calculator, just his brain versus the numbers. Mental math sharpens the prefrontal cortex, the powerhouse behind decision-making, reasoning, and short-term memory. These are the same areas that decline fastest with aging. But like a muscle, they strengthen when challenged. After a month, he started solving calculations faster than I could. "I didn't know I still had this in me," he said. And that's the joy of brain training, discovering what's still inside. 10. The Non-Dominant Hand Challenge. Stimulating new neural paths. If you've ever tried brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand, you know how ridiculous it feels at first. My uncle and I laughed every morning as toothpaste dribbled down the sink. But behind the fun is something profound. Using the wrong hand forces the brain to operate in unfamiliar territory, building new neural pathways and boosting neuroplasticity. Over time, these new connections support better coordination, faster thinking, and improved adaptability. "Why does this feel so good for my brain?" he once asked. Because novelty, especially physical novelty, is one of the strongest triggers for brain growth. 11. Smell identification ritual. Strengthening the memory center. This became one of my uncle's favorite routines. We'd gather spices, cinnamon, coffee, basil, cloves, lemon peel, and he'd close his eyes as I held each scent under his nose. He'd inhale slowly and guess. Sometimes he was right, sometimes not. But that wasn't the point. The olfactory bulb connects directly to the hippocampus, the brain's memory center. That's why smells trigger memories so powerfully. Doing this daily stimulates the hippocampus, improving memory formation and retrieval. Over time, he began recalling scents and memories more vividly. "I feel like I'm waking up old parts of my brain," he said. He was right. 12. One-word meditation. Reclaiming focus. My uncle chose the word morning because it reminded him of fresh starts. For 10 minutes a day, we simply sat together in silence, while he repeated the word whenever his mind wandered. Not trying to clear the mind, just gently returning to one anchor point. This practice strengthens the brain's attentional control networks, making it easier to focus, easier to think, and easier to stay present in daily life. Some days he struggled. Some days it came naturally. But after each session, he'd smile softly and say, "My thoughts aren't running away from me anymore." That's the power of focus training. 13. The brain dump. Emptying the mental backpack. Every night before bed, I'd hand him a notebook and say, "Let it all out." For 10 minutes he wrote whatever came to mind. Worries, reminders, nonsense, ideas, memories. There was no structure, no rules. This exercise offloads mental clutter from the working memory, which is often overstretched in people experiencing cognitive decline. When the brain isn't carrying unprocessed thoughts, it can function more efficiently the next day. After a few weeks, he said, "I sleep better, I think better, I feel lighter." And that's exactly what this exercise does, gives the mind room to breathe. And there you have it, 13 10-minute brain gym routines you can do at home, at work, or even while walking. You don't need hours, you don't need equipment, you just need consistency. If you want more routines like these, plus deep dives into longevity, mental sharpness, and peak performance, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me which brain exercise you're trying first. Your brain is your most powerful asset. Take care of it, and it'll take care of you. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy this next video on 9 common medications that can trigger rapid dementia.